Hello and welcome to Sound of Solidarity, Part 2, Artist Collective. I'm Sera Kalo and I will be guiding the conversation today. This is a panel talk that is part of the Jazzwoche Berlin Jazzwoche, Jazz Week. Today's panel is an invitation to reflect on what it means to build artistic community in precarious times through music, theater, and collective work. We'll hear from 3 artists whose practices push back against isolation and individualism through creative solidarity. So I will begin now by introducing the panelists. We're going to start with Rea Kurmann. Rea? Rea is a theater maker, writer, and co-founder of Power Theater, a collective dedicated to feminist, anti-racist narratives centering Ronya and Sinti women. Her work blends performance and political education, and she actively builds counter-narratives to structural invisibility. Through collectivity, Rea uses the stage as a space of transformation, empowerment, and solidarity. Next, we have Silke Eberhard. Saxophonist, composer, and band leader, Silke is a very distinctive voice in contemporary jazz in Germany, with projects ranging from duo improvisation to her 13-piece, Potza Lotza XL. She combines artistic integrity with collective vision. Silke is deeply committed to structural change in the music world, advocating for visibility, community building, and equality within the scene and beyond. Her work is documented on approximately 50 albums on record labels such as Intact, Jazzwerkstatt, Leo Records, and ESP Disc. And finally, we have Joy Frempong. Joy is a vocalist, producer, and sound researcher known for her experimental pop duo, Oi, where storytelling, electronics, and diasporic soundscapes collide. Afropunk cites Joy as a new sound that might make the future a little more colorful if we listen. Since 2022, she has been an active member of the interdisciplinary collective Decolonoize, working at the intersection of music, decolonial theory, and community empowerment, and creating space for Afro-diasporic voices and resistance-oriented performance in Berlin. Let's give our panelists a warm welcome. Okay, so now it's your turn to talk. And I'm going to start off with a question for all of you. What was the first collective or collaborative effort you were a part of, and how did it shape you?
Well, maybe in my case, I was living this house project. We were 11 people sharing this house together. There was a party cellar where we organized concerts sometimes. And I could say that this connects to what I'm doing now with Decolonoize as well, just creating these underground spaces where people can meet, where you can hear things you don't maybe get to hear in other venues. And you can, just invite people you admire. It's also kind of the solidarity act, also living together, of course, discussing how you want to live together.
Maybe, yeah, very interesting. Thanks for the question. In my case, maybe, it's hard. What was the first? Maybe through my studies at the Hans Eisler, I was playing in a free improvisational group that had no leader and we were just listening and exploring together and finding opportunities to play. But I just had the thought that when the very first, it was maybe in my small village in South Germany where I come from, playing in the folk brass band. I was learning from the elders. I never played alone my instrument. It was just, maybe that was the first community and organizing the village festival, the beer festival. Yeah.
Yes. Also. So the very first in my life, I think it was when I did organizing, and that was at school when I was organizing concerts and bazaars, and it was that time also for Palestine, I remember, and then once for Eritrea. Then we have a lot of Romani. Where I organized bazaars, and I also we had concerts, solidarity concerts. So, but this was not connected to my artistic work so much at that time. I just did it, yeah. And then we had house projects as well twice, and yeah. And in terms of art or consciously, so I think when we really started Power Theaterkollektiv. So, yeah. Yeah, thanks.
That's very interesting. Thank you for sharing those diverse experiences. I think it's totally understandable when some of those first community or collective experiences are not necessarily connected to our artistic endeavors or even who we are as adults, you know? I remember mine was sports. I used to be on a sports team. That was my first collective. Yeah. You learn a lot. With that said, when you engaged in those collaborative experiences, what did you realize your function to be within a collective? Did you find yourself to be more of a leader, a listener, a team worker, team builder, or were you more, on the side?
It depended on the situation I was in. So quite often I just decided to do something, and then I just found the people. So, but sometimes also, especially also in the Romani context, I don't know we are very diverse, and I don't not all of the stories, not all of the regions. And sometimes I'm just listening or just participating or showing up because of my solidarity. So, yes. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think I like to be half background, half foreground. So I'm not the leader character at all, but I still like to make things happen, but in a way that it's almost magic. It's like, boom, it just happened. I thought about it. So I like to, I think, connect people, like tie some certain threads, and then, but always also be at some kind of distance watching.
Yeah, I feel a little bit the same. I never wanted to be in the foreground. But it somehow happened because I wanted to play my own music. I was starting to write little pieces, so trying to find people who would like to play with me that. But it's still always, it has had an improvisational character and never dictatorship. And actually, I don't like the leader role so much. I really believe in teams, and I think every musician probably knows that the work is not done by one person. There is always a big community. It needs a village, I think. Yeah.
Thank you. Now I'm going to go off script.
You take the lead.
So you would replace the word leader with maker. Does that feel better? Do you think there's a difference between a maker and a leader? You don't have to answer, but something to think about.
Yeah, I think the leader comes sometimes when you feel certain people just have so much energy, or also this nature of, bringing other people into the game. I think that's sometimes when you give them this attribute of leader, because they can motivate others to join in. Mm-hmm. But it's true that I also strongly believe that yeah, sometimes certain people get more attention because of they're more extrovert, but very often in bands the same. If you take out that shy bass player, then boom, nothing's left. And sometimes, yeah, it can also be other roles, not so just people being aware of others, or putting flowers to the event, where just making the atmosphere nicer. That can have such an important role. And there, I'd say everyone, and if you're in a collective, then everyone is a maker in a way. Yeah.
Yes, and I would like to add, I think sometimes it's only the decision, because we are all actors, we are all very expressive, and sometimes it gets crazy. But then we get this decision to say, okay, you are leading this time. And then everyone is accepting that, hopefully. Not, yes, it works quite well. But and then the decision is made for this situation, or this for this project, and then we just go with it. And it's also good to change roles, I think we learn a lot among us by changing roles. Yeah.
Thank you. So flexibility is key. Mhm. Silke, I have a question for you. When I checked you out online, you were referred to very often as a band leader. So I'm going to ask you, as a band leader, you've worked with both small ensembles and large-scale projects. How do you create a sense of ownership or shared ownership in your bands, and where does your idea of musical community show up in that process?
Yeah, this happens to be the band leader if you bring the people together and you bring the tunes and maybe the gigs and the rehearsal space and all the surroundings. So yes, it depends on the band. Sometimes we are pure collectives, like the band I Am Three. We are three people and we really share the work. Everybody we get Aufgaben, Verteilung, and then tags. And so we do that. But for instance, in my large ensemble, Pozzalozza XL, there's also, I bring the music, but I don't believe in this compositional, the great composer thing, this hierarchic thing. I have worked in so many hierarchic processes, projects, theater, for instance, also. Like, it can be really something, yeah. So I don't want to reproduce anything of that. So the musicians are, to me, they are co-creators, and this band, it has 10 or 11, or it depends, very individual voices. They are very strong, and I couldn't write for just a tenor. It's the tenor player, Patrick, who I'm writing for, and I know he will do something else with it. And this counts for every person in the band. So it's kind of a co-creation, maybe. And it's not only that I'm hoping, no, it sounds, maybe expecting also that.
Yeah, thank you. And Rea, since Silke talked about theater, how would that dynamic work within the theater context when you are creating a piece? How do you allow for creative authorship within the process?
So our plays are, quite all of them are based on researches, based on archive material, because when we are talking about untold stories, we have to do it. It's not done yet, especially for Romani women. We do our own research, and then we start creating out of that the artistic perspective, right? And during this process, so very often two people are starting. We do all the research, most of it, so a big group very often. Then we have this done. This is the first step in a way, and then we are going to three people say, okay, we all want to work on that now, and then they start, and then it comes to, let's say, to me or to some other people. Then we go through again, and then a lot of questions are coming up. Things are not fulfilled, are not done. A lot of, you know, it goes in various direction, and then we come together again, and we decide in which direction we want to go. So, or we have, like we had it in the memorial last year for the Roma memorial, which is in danger. So we decided to do clearly a project on that. And then we had this task, and we worked collectively on it. The authorship was collectively, but then also the actors were working on it in their own way. So, and that was the way, it's the way how we create the best, I would say. So, and everyone feels confident in the end by what we are doing, what we are presenting. And we found the common sense, because it's always a common soul of a group, of of an idea, and to find that takes time. Yes.
Thank you. I have a very concrete question for you, Joy. Oi has roots across countries and cultures. How do you navigate cultural solidarity and artistic collaboration on that scale?
Yeah, I guess that's, yeah, growing up between cultures is kind of, yeah, my identity, and it's always been important for the music I did. So there was one album where I actually went to different African countries to collect field recordings, and actually the idea there was to present good news from Africa, because I was growing up. I mean, I spent my childhood 7 years in Ghana, and then came to Switzerland, and then there was always this only bad news about Africa. And anytime we went with the family to visit, it was always, I felt like, yeah, it's great. I'm happy. It's good, and there's a lot of beauty. And so, yeah, part of me just wanted to reflect that also through the musical project. And this, yeah, thanks to cultural funding, I also got to go to South Africa with that project, or even for research, which was very mind-blowing for me, because in South Africa, I felt like every musician, every artist is kind of political, just because the situation in the country. And it was also, I think, looking back from many people I met then, they say that was also a super interesting period in Johannesburg, these rooftop parties, and it was very vibrant, and many people, yeah, were meeting. And I think I still, yeah, have connections to some bands. We did a collaboration with one of those bands. So it's really very nourishing to meet people all across the world. And I think I also try to transport this during concerts, like almost like a mantra. What's now affecting you could soon be affecting me, and vice versa. And we need global solidarity, especially in the current world with the biggest crisis. All can only be solved on a global level. But it's still, sometimes people give you the feeling you're a hippie if you address that. And actually, no, it's not hippie talk. It's really very necessary, very crucial to survival of humans and the whole planet. And yeah, therefore, that kind of all blends in also into the messages I tell on stage or in between songs.
Thank you. So maybe all of you saw outside, there was a demo happening in solidarity for Palestine. How convenient. And so in relation to that, in a time where artists are being very much censored or even punished for exercising solidarity, how can you manage to exercise solidarity within your collective? Cultural solidarity. It's a very big question, but I ask it because as a community, there's strength in numbers, right? But even still, there is a system that's even bigger. And so, with the hive mind and the collective, mm, what's the word? With the with the collective thought, what are some ways in which a community or a collective can express solidarity, even under very precarious times, in your artistic ways?
I mean, I just was speaking before, so I was like
Yes.
holding back. But yeah, with Decolonoize, what we do is events. So basically, we did a Palestine solidarity event last year, and like by booking acts, that's basically generally what we do. Underrepresented communities, minorities, also, yeah, gender minorities. And so we just try to create stages, amplify these voices, sometimes also take donations, and a part of activity also happens online just by posting and sharing, of course. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we have collective members. I mean, you mentioned it was an Afro-diasporan collective, but actually it's more, it's like we have people Viet Polish or Vietnamese, Chinese background, Turkish, Arab background, Singapore. So that's also what I love about the collective, that it's really very diverse. You have many different realities in there, and therefore also our booking team, or who people know, is quite diverse. But we also, we have collective members who basically have just lost all their jobs because certain workshops have been cancelled, and so you're also sometimes trying to help each other out financially. Mm-hmm.
Yes, what we try at the moment very much, that we try to stabilize the collective work, so that to build up structures where we could do, and for sure we are. Yes, so this is a very important thing, that we don't lose the idea that we can build our own structures. Mm-hmm. Yes, and what to do, because the fundings are less, for sure, but to find new ways, other collectives, and to ask how did they do that, and to find ways. And I think at the moment we are about to find this kind of ways, that we, it's very, not only a financial question, but also very often. And I mean, if you be a heartful person and you try keeping this, you can feel all the time what's going on the streets. And then for sure you show up also, not all in the same way, because we are a lot of us are also struggling. We help each other, but the most important issue at the moment is how we can build the structures, so go deeper, and to that we don't lose each other. So, and also be careful what everyone needs, really, things shifted a lot, and so we have to also be aware of that. Yes, not only among Romani people, but also with other minorities. So this is what we do constantly. I think it's a constant work. Yeah.
Thank you. So, I heard that some ways to express solidarity or show solidarity is creating events, bringing marginalized people to the center so that they become actors. So that's a form of empowerment. And also building your own structures or independent structures.
Yes, or supporting campaigns by artistic work. So
And so with that, I would like to ask all of you, what kind of structures do you build within your collectives or your music projects, acting projects that support solidarity and sustainability within your cultural scene in terms of music and art, acting?
So maybe I go ahead, right? So what we see now that we are going to intergenerational work much more. So we always did it, but it was not so conscious. Yeah, but now we did it consciously. We communicated, which is very important. So we have the young, especially young women, and they are learning from us, or we learning also from them. So, and we have also, let's say, the second generation after the genocide. So we see there where they built a lot of work, they built a lot of structures up, and now we try to make them visible with our work. Through also little projects or actions or events or with the book we wrote. So we always take to bring that in, because we deeply believe that we are not only one generation. Yes. So we came from our ancestors. We try always also to bring in this heritage again and again, because we think it's important. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I just, what you said, to bring things to the next generation. I also feel that it's very, that's how I also started. I learned from the elders. I was always lucky that people, that I could play with older musicians also. And I'm trying to, also teaching is a part of it. I love to teach, and it's wonderful to see how, so we don't have to worry about the jazz music. That's what I want to say. And it's, yeah, in my case, I'm not part of a association or what. I'm a musician of the scene, and I think the jazz musicians, we interact with the whole world, and that's what we do anyway. So for me, this is not a question at all. I think it's a practice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in terms of structure, I think for us we have two kind of events. The ones are funded events, which then take place in venues where we have to pay maybe more rent, and yeah, there's all they get more expensive, but we can also pay people better, pay ourselves a little bit. And the other kind of events are more DIY events, we call them, where we just have a venue and we just get the door deals, and usually, yeah, there's not going to be much left over. But yeah, these DIY events, you can say, would be more sustainable in the sense that we always know they're there, we can do them. The other one, we're more dependent, and we cannot, we cannot own or build our own space. I think this is just not something that's possible to do. So I think maybe the most sustainable thing we can do is connect, and we have like also digital channels like a Artist Connect group where BPOC artists can just join and share jobs opportunities, share knowledge. And we're also trying to do some jam sessions where people come together, and we think that the more people, we're trying to build community, and the more people are in this community, the more opportunities can also arise from that. Yeah, but it's a period where it seems a bit difficult to really to structural change, because it's so connected to material needs, and the money is just, yeah, not around.
Thank you. Would you like to say something?
Yeah, I just
Please.
to really to confirm it. Networking is one of the most powerful options we have. Yeah, in so many senses, it's really helpful.
My next question is for you, Rea. What makes acting in theater a powerful vehicle for resistance?
Okay, thank you for this question.
You're welcome.
What makes it a powerful vehicle for resistance? In sense of Romnia Sintice, there are not a lot of stories. They are really told. So now we are doing a project of Sintice in DDR, in the Democratic Republic. So, and we found out the situation there was completely different than we ever expected, because they felt more safe. They had an anti-discrimination person in every in every area, which was really fighting for justice also, which wasn't not there in West Germany at that time. And so with this new interviews, with these new stories, with this new situation, there is also another another power that comes up, you know, because there were people that felt safe and they could say what they were thinking. And even this is not the case at the moment so much in many senses. So it gives us some kind of strength, you know, inside confidence. And we say, okay, how can we keep that now for the theater play? Theater gets the option that we have always, we can dream, we can change whatever we want, we can talk about the utopia, even it's not there, but we can show it, we can express it, we can bring it in some senses. Sometimes it's only a post, it's not always a play, you know, it's sometimes very little. But this little thing helped us so much to come where we are now. And yes, I think, and I get the feeling that we could really make it possible just to by supporting a campaign with a performance for the European Roma Memorial in Berlin, with the anti discrimination network. We could manage the Deutsche Bahn. So they're not going on with their project, you know, and not because of us, but the artistic world was only a little piece in the whole system, yeah. And that makes us go, because then we see we can also participate. We can, and we. What we learned, oh, there are a lot of people in Berlin that don't even know that we get a European Roma memorial in the city, you know? And things like that. And then we think, okay, it's worth to talk about it and to tell them, yes, there are plans that S21 will go directly under the European Memorial, which is crazy, because this was the same systems that deported the people, you know. So, and with the artistic work, we have a chance to express and to give our feelings, our voices, our intellects a chance to get expressed. Yeah. Is this understandable?
Thank you. Silke and Joy, do you see any parallels to what Rea has said about how she's using resistance in theater? Do you see that also happening in the music scenes? Or are you actors yourselves of using music as resistance?
Yeah, I think I resonate a lot with this. Yeah, visibility is something, is a very important topic in our case. It's also about how many stories have been just deleted or not, or people have been whitewashed, although they actually have a different background, and you just like famous like Freddie Mercury, who, until I found out he was actually Persian, born in Zanzibar, because in Zanzibar I was standing in front of his house. He's like, Freddie was, and yeah, rock musicians, punk, everybody thinks it's white. Berlin techno, oh, actually it was founded by Detroit black people, and so all of these stories that in people's minds they don't even imagine, they don't have the right context anymore, and so just reclaiming history is definitely one part of just showing we are visible, we are here doing this kind of alternative music, and we are not white people, and we're also not going to be put into that box of where anybody who asks, I'm say I'm a musician, anybody who's just, you do jazz, you do funk, you just, so, it's just like these expectations that people, or the narrowed imagination that people have. And I think just by having these spaces, by having these concerts, I think that's already an act of resistance and an act of empowerment.
Yeah, I actually don't know. This is very strong what you just said. I don't know what to add to this. I didn't know about this subway going under the memorial. So strong stories, and and I mean, I'm a white person living in Europe, coming from from South Germany, playing Afro-American art, music. What does it mean? It's, of course, we all have these questions, but we bring our, I don't know what to say, our own. Are we resisting?
I mean, I believe jazz also has a very important and political position in German history as well, socially speaking, as a form of expression. I mean, even beyond its African American roots, right? So, within your context, in your life as a human, has jazz been an art form in which you were feeling empowered or were able to resist something that you felt was possibly oppressing you in a way?
I mean, just that I can do that. This is a privilege, and I know that. And
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Let me see.
May I add one little sentence? What comes
Sure.
in my so what also is as a constant work is to go on creating safe spaces, which give us the possibility to really to feel our own openness. Can be in terms of music or in our words, more words or body. But I think this is also a very important thing for resistance,
Maybe I can just add, like a figure like you, also for me as I did a jazz education, and there weren't so many female jazz instrumentalists around. I mean, and I think this is something that, for next, it has, sometimes maybe not, you don't even realize it yourself, but for other people, it's like, wow, this person is there and, doing her thing. And I think this can already have impacts also in the sense of, taking, or occupying a space, or taking the space you deserve, actually.
Yeah. Please.
yeah. Thank you, Joy. I haven't thought about that fact, but it's still, this fact still is, we are still have a long way to go. When I was studying, we were 100 students and 4 instrumentalists, female. But we had a lot, 20 singers. And when we now look at the numbers, it has changed a bit, and this is great, but still we have to push forward more. And to make it more diverse. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm actually going to skip some questions. Let's see. Okay, another question for all of you. What have been the biggest challenges of collective work, and how do you personally deal with burnout or emotional friction in other spaces?
Yeah, it's a hard question because what we do is something we love, but we always do it, and to get that gig, to play there or doing the rehearsal or something, so many hours of hard work and fundraising, phone calls. I don't know. We all know what it means, and sometimes it's not going round. And then I'm taking it not personal, but it does something inside, because you are not it's not a manager thing we do. It's our art, and sometimes this can really heavy, yeah, and going through things like that. So yeah, I think burnout is a big thing for many. Mm.
Yeah, I think also, I mean, before I joined the collective, there was this first festival that resulted in collective burnout, I would say. It's like a complete trauma. And so, yeah, I was one of the first who came in after that. And it was really like, the idea was really for a whole year, let's just be very gentle. Let's just take care of every step we take. Let's not overdo it. And we still did, of course. And we had, but what I think is great that had started before was we have supervision, which is like every 3 months or so we meet someone, and there we can actually talk about things before they become drama. And it has really, so I think it has saved us, because really there were things, and feel tensions in the air, misunderstandings, this and that, and then you speak it out, and it's just like, okay, and then you can continue. And I think for every collective needs that, is my impression, or from this experience, because yeah, everybody has their own baggage, and sometimes certain people are not present enough, and people also feel guilty for nothing. Sometimes you have all sorts of constellations when you're a group of people that can make tension come up. And I think it's really been amazing how we've been able to get rid of conflicts. And also, like, one part of supervision was, or one input was, like, a method where we agree on consensus method, which is like, we don't say it's not the majority wins, but actually you say, I have a lot of negative feeling towards this event. I really don't want to do it. And then it's going to be heard, even if you're just one person having that. So you try to really listen to every person. And this way we could also agree on how many events we do a year, and we scaled them down. And this has made our lives much easier. And then we can take it step by step again. So I think, yeah, not overdoing it is quite important, although it's so exciting to do things. And you're like, oh.
Thank you. Would you like to add something, Rea?
Yes. So one other thing is really that we are fighting very often also again for accessibility, because we have to prove all the time that we are professional, that we get good concepts, that we are able to do it, and even sometimes, even when we bring money, it's sure. So, and we have to go again and again through these processes, through these talks, through this sending concepts and improving what we already did. And so this is exhausting very often. And we learned a bit better how to accept that, to read, and then to do the next step. and to have fun with that. So, and the second thing is that we have trauma and among us, and then was challenging, because when we start fighting against each other, it becomes difficult. It's a high energy, and also we are working on ourselves, on our collectives, and we established little things. So when someone is speaking, we let him speaking for 5 minutes almost. Yeah. So little things that helps us in some very excited moments to really to listen, and then to understand, and then to go on. So, and yes, also mediation helped us. It's really very helpful for collective work, and yes, and also the work on ourselves, that we know each other very well and ourselves very well. So it's a lifetime process. But it helps also to communicate in the group very much, and yes, to relieve and to celebrate sometimes, only for little things, just to celebrate and to be fine with what we are and what we have reached already. Yeah.
So, maintaining group dynamics, so everything from structured conversations to acknowledging your achievements, no matter how small, it's really important for healing that burnout. And also, the both of you touched on mediation and management. This is super important, actually, I think, for artists, for sustainability. I mean, oftentimes people hear musicians complaining, oh, I need a manager, I need a booker, I need this, I need that. And it kind of sounds like an extra necessity, but actually these functions are in fact really helping artists to sustain themselves. Because I think when we're living, especially being a cultural producer or artist in a capitalist world, we're valued by our production, how much we produce and the quality that we produce. And it becomes a hindrance when we're not able to focus on that, and we have to do 1,000 other jobs and not the one that we actually really want to do. So thank you for highlighting that. And with that, I want to ask a very important question to all of you. If you could radically redesign the arts funding system, what's one thing you would change?
Only one?
Go for it. All of it. Tell me everything.
Oh. Wow, so many things come up, so many ideas. But one thing is what you already said. You always have to prove, and then you put it so less bureaucratic and more accessible for everybody. I just met someone last week, a great colleague. I haven't seen him on the scene for a long time. That's my fault maybe, but and he said he would never ask for funding. He doesn't know how to write it, but he's brilliant, you know. And this resonated in my head for many days. So this is something I would really love to change.
Less
The one
bureaucracy.
thing. And also, more trust in the artist, and make it longer. You always have to prove, this is like, we are artists, we are not startups, you know, it feels like, now you have to bring the most fancy thing, and it has to look very great in the sound, and blah, 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 and then you have to write, and of course, explain the project, I understand, but then it's very short time you can do it. So for ensembles, for instance, long-term fundings, or maybe for artists, for all. Yeah.
I think, I mean, this is more general, but I think I'd go for universal basic income, first of all, because I think that it's a problem for the art scene, but so many people cannot live from their jobs actually, really, and the gap is getting bigger, and we're actually, the ones benefiting are really like billionaires who are not putting tax into the whole system. So even funding has to be there first. If like the billions are disappearing in some clouds and yachts and whatever, and then they are not there for what's good for the public and for humans. And so there's actually no value in some of those jobs. There's this writer about the basic income. He calls it bullshit jobs. It's like the stock market management, whatever. It doesn't give any extra value to people's lives, but it's just some people benefit from it. And all people doing really hard work don't see enough and are struggling. And I think this, on a basic level, just living, having your basic needs covered should be normal. And it's starting to be not normal. And I think that's a big problem. And then, I also think longer term funding, less bureaucratic. I mean, I grew up in Switzerland, so Swiss funding is a lot less bureaucratic than in Germany. It's possible. It's like, it doesn't have to be like here, where you go crazy, like collecting invoices and it's like.
Yes, that's a very good idea. Universal income. Yeah, for sure. And also, I think also, why not decentralized money, more from this kind of systems. I would love also to get some more business angels or angels who just, that art is understood as one moment that reflects society. This is also a change in the mind of founding. So, and it's not, and whatever we do, it's always also a reflection of who we are as societies, as plural societies. And with this understanding, and everyone should get it. There is enough here, but it's not distributed. Thank you. It's not distributed in a good way. So this distribution system, it's completely. We have to renew that. It's also a work, a global work. Yeah, and a lot of that. There's also a mental work and. Maybe this decentralized systems can help us to go to that point. Yeah. Yeah, for the moment.
Thank you. Yeah. Very interesting. I would like us all to remember that we are artists, not startups. Although a lot of us do have to register as Kleinunternehmer. No? Oh, yeah. Yes, thank you for that. Very insightful. We're getting close to the end, but I do have another question for you before we do a Q&A. So we're talking about collective work, and when we have our collective work, we end up creating bubbles in a way. And so it's kind of like the collective individual versus the bigger group. How can you balance the nurturing of the collective and still keep a connection and exchange with the grosser sphere? I'll call it a sphere. It's for all of you. Question for all of you.
But what do you mean with the sphere?
Like the bigger collective. So we have our individual collective. So we might have a jazz collective or a Synthi artistic collective, and we are taking care of that collective. It's growing, it's wonderful, but at the same time, it might become a little isolated. And then we don't know what the other communities are doing. So how can we still establish a connection between these different groups and possibly even nurture collaboration?
I think it's something you also mean like the fragmentation
Yeah.
of and how this can. So I think to with open eyes and ears going through the world, and we, for example, sometimes we invite guest artists and from all genres, not from new music. From we had a Korean kayagum player featured, or next week Jose Davila will come from New York, and we also have a healer sometimes in our band. She heals us, but also our instruments. Yeah, she appears sometimes like a. Yeah. Anyway, we try to, and this is not. It's a win to not only stay in the jazz scene. It's wonderful to get inspired by other art forms. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, we have sometimes gotten requests by other collectives to do joint events, or there's also one project called United Networks, where actually their idea is exactly to combine different collectives and bring different perspectives together. So I think these efforts somehow exist, but yeah, it's good to think about. And in our collective, we also have members like of other collectives. So sometimes it also helps if people. It's all individuals who are also active in other scenes, and then you try to, yeah, connect with these other spaces. But it's also true. It's always this extra effort, maybe, to go out and consider.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Rea, would you like to add anything?
So yes, yeah, we have festivals also to see each other and then to open our minds, and can be Romani festivals who take place all over the world, or it also other fields of art like jazz. It's wonderful for acting, for actors, or films. Very often are very inspiring, music in general. So we really try to go to these events and to see other art forms, literature. So, and not only art forms, also activism, or a lot of to do the political work. Yes, it's exhausting very often. That's right. And we can't be always in a burnout. So in that sense, very often, what helps us a lot is to share this with each other, to really to make art more complex, more comprehensive, I think is the word. And yes, and then it's fine. You feel then relieved when this is shared in that sense. And then you can also go on when you're not excluding always part of your life, and then you're also more open to really to let to get in other perspectives and ideas and feelings.
Thank you so much, Rea, Silke, and Joy, for being on this panel. We're at the very end, but I wanted to know if there's anything that you would like to share before we go to the Q&A. You ready for the next phase? Okay. So, wonderful audience. Thank you for being so patient and listening to our conversation. I hope it was inspiring and interesting for you. Do you have any questions? Yes. Yes.
So I think it's also a question for everyone on the panel. First of all, thank you for all the insights. That's very interesting and also helpful to hear stuff like mediation and working together over a longer process, because I think working collectives can be really tough. And especially now in times where the attacks on our, is it culture funding, whatever, but also on cultural scene, and like that you always have to prove that culture is relevant and important, and activism is relevant and important, and the attacks from the right are so frequent and so heavy. Like, how can you make collectives work really fast also? Because sometimes I have the feeling collective processes are a lot of talking, which is amazing, but when the real attacks will happen probably in the future, when like the AFD is rising more and more and more, we have to be quick, and we have to create safe spaces for people and be able to do that also as members of societies. And so I don't know, it's a very open question, but maybe, yeah, how to make them also quick and flexible and fast in responses to stuff like that for everyone. Was it clear, or should I? Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I think they can be quick, but the problem is how long will they last? I think that's the main question, because I think it has happened also. I think Black Lives Matter was an example where suddenly very many collectives came up. I think Decolonoize was also born out of that, but then many collectives disappeared again and people were burned out. So I think that's just this balance to have in mind. Sometimes we have to act fast, but I think we're just human. And I think if we go over it, then it's just difficult to keep it long term.
And I think also it's not only Berlin. This is one city in the whole world. And we are going to prepare also, or if you are connected with in Berlin, but also in other towns of Germany, and not only Germany, in Europe, and not only in Europe. So you get also other perspectives, you know, and sometimes it's just helpful to understand your own bubble, you know, and then also how you can react on that, because it's you always, yeah, in your own systems in that sense. And this is for us very important, that we keep a kind of open mind. Radical openness is really a practice, and it's sometimes also really not comfortable to do it, but this is what we want, so we do it or we try to do it. Yeah.
Maybe one more thing, because I think it's also reality. We sometimes, it's difficult to face it, that this worst case scenarios are coming, and that really, I think I experienced it also. Sometimes we tour in Italy, and there was one venue that always got money so far, but they've really been changing the people in charge of culture, and suddenly this venue doesn't get the money, and suddenly this gig isn't there. So you're seeing like it creeping in, and I think maybe a solution would be really think ahead of worst case scenarios, and in this case, like prepare things slowly but structurally, so that we don't have to react so fast and burn out, but we have already maybe built structures before it happens, because we have faced the ugly reality which is approaching. And yeah.
Thank you. Any more questions? Okay, I have a question. So what keeps circulating in my mind is the idea of creating independent structures. So I'm thinking structures. And then also this, we are artists, not startups. And then in connection with the question of like funding, and talking about radical changes in funding, like what kind of structures do you think would support artists better? One idea was having a long-term, more long-term, but what does that mean? what would that look like?
I think the question is always, where does the money come from? I mean, now we have like from the government or from the country of Berlin or the city or the small communities in some small town in Germany, and I don't know where can we learn from? That's good. So if that will go down, I'm not sure. We have to find private people to do that. I think there's no other way. I mean, we as a community, we can encourage us and together and help us. But to really move things, I don't know if that is enough. So that's my question.
Yeah, I mean, I think infrastructural funding helps in terms of having rehearsal spaces or funding venues, which then again can allow you to play. I think that's not only thinking of the artist, but also, or I think in France, it's also solved that some income from Netflix and from the movies goes actually to the French music scene. So they manage to, out of this market part, really get some percentage fed back into the local scene. So, and I'm not sure how it is in Germany with that. But so all these streaming services where the money is actually our phone vendors, where all the people listen to the artistic output, but actually just to redirect money maybe from where people actually use it, but they never pay the artists and try to bring it back into structures and that actually help creators.
Are there any other questions? Yes, please.
Thank you. I hope I formulate my question well. Thank you, first of all, for the insights and everything. It's very inspiring to listen to all of you. I wonder, I'm starting, I mean, I don't know at which point I can call myself an artist, but I think I can, there is no definition, but I wanted to ask where to start as like growing into being an artist, more as showing who I am and performing, and as well as like reflecting on what is happening in the world within myself, but as well showing it. Like maybe it was kind of weird how I now articulated it, but maybe like an inside tip how to get the power that all of you have in a way. And I feel like struggling sometimes a lot to start or to like see everything that is happening in the world and to deal with that, and then to maybe also use it in a way to create something or start creating something. Yeah, to maybe have like I don't know if there is like a tip or
I don't know, maybe we all know that a lot, and it's just normal. And my tip is just do your art. I mean, of course, you get all that, but it will come out in an artful way, in your way. Your art will shape. Yeah. So I think just stick to it, and yeah.
Since we're talking about collectives, join a collective. But I think it can be like spaces where other people are also maybe starting, or some people are already ahead. If there's, or like Flinta places where you feel safer or encouraged, maybe can, this kind of networking, speaking to people. Also, I think if you're at a concert and you love what someone's doing, people usually don't mind speaking, sharing, and I think it's, as an artist, you always have you're the public person, and for myself at this moment when I had my first alter ego name, which was, I think it created a little bit of distance from me as a person to the artist. I think that also helped to have, because anyway, you have to go out at a certain moment with images like artwork, this and that. How do I, or what do I feel represents me? And I think this can maybe also help to create this mini distance just with a alter ego or different name.
Thank you for this question. So you start talking about artistic work, so that's nice. I like it. So yeah, I think just go for it, and then the way you can, that it's not so overwhelming you. Yeah, look for other spaces, for collectives, for maybe also, we are here, all of us are females, and it's also another female power now in the world. So Flinter spaces, just look for and get the energy, what you really need, what you feel, what it's needed for you. Yeah, we have to balance it. What is in the outside, what we see, what we hear, what's there, and then how we resonate to it. This is it goes on, it never stops. Yeah, but you can find your own spaces and ways how to deal with it. Yes, I just would like to encourage you that you really, when you feel it, go for it. Yes, and find the ways how it is possible for you to do that, what you want to do. Yeah, and to talk. Yeah.
In case you meet toxic people in the music business, they are the problem. It's not you, the problem.
That's a very important tip. I also want to tell you that, like on a personal note, a friend once told me a long time ago not to be afraid of my vulnerability. So feel what you need to feel. And if you can remember music as a transformative instrument for how you're feeling, then just know that this is the vehicle that you can work through to translate those feelings. You know what I mean? And also, for me personally, when I decide to release bodies of work in which the songwriting is extremely intimate, I think of music as like my house, as my safe space. And so it doesn't matter what stage I'm on, as soon as I open my mouth and something musical comes out, my house is built and I'm totally safe. It doesn't matter what the audience thinks, it doesn't matter So, so yes, feel what you need to feel, let it out in your art form. You're gonna be fine. Are there any more questions? We have 2 more minutes. I could either ask one more question or we could conclude the panel. Any closing words? If not, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. This is the EG Jazz Panel Talk, Sound of Solidarity Part 2. Artist collectives, enjoy the Jazzwoche, keep on having conversations and exploring the city and everything that EG Jazz has to offer us. Thank you very much. Have a great afternoon.